And welcome into the Monday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game, presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. Get thicker grass, better color, fewer bare spots with turf application. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. Live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Robbie Stanley alongside Joe Rexrode. And now honorary NBA champion Ian Safar here with us on the program this morning. Ian,
good morning.
Happy Monday to you. How does it feel to be an NBA champion?
It feels good, thanks. It feels good. It was fun to watch for sure. But sorry, I'm working on Joe's audio.
Yeah, I think we got some audio
a little
issues.
Jacked up today. Our equipment's still a little bit funky from last week, so I'm working on some stuff here. But it was good. It was fun to watch all the post-game stuff and texting with my dad. But it was, hey, they played awesome throughout the entire playoffs, and I was glad to see it carry over to the final game, and kind of went how the series has been
It really
going.
did. It went pretty much exactly the blueprint of how it had gone to that point. And they had gotten to the point with the Knicks where if they were down in the series or down in a game, you just kind of assumed, all right, at what point are they going to start coming back? And more often than not, they did. It was a heck of a story. I mean, look, I think a lot of people watching, even if you deep down probably don't like New York sports, which I think are a lot of people probably fall into that category. It's like, oh, great, it's New York. It's a big market. Great. Good for them. They won. But, the Knicks doing something for the first time in that long. And, in my lifetime, the Knicks have been not that great. I mean, they're okay in the 90s. And then you got like Carmelo in there, had a good run or two. But that's about it. Like that's all it's been with the Knicks. So to see them finish that off the other day, I thought it was pretty cool. Good stuff on that front. You had Carolina win the Stanley Cup last night. We'll take your thoughts on all of that at 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. It's a Reaction Monday brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. And we had two championships that were won over the weekend when it comes to Carolina and the New York Knicks. So good stuff on that front. Do we have Rexrode available?
Yeah, sorry, you cut out on me there. But I heard you talking about the Knicks. And I think I saw a stat. The Spurs led the series by double digits for like 62 minutes or something. The Knicks led at all for like 50. It was the same formula over and over again. But I mean, the guts the Knicks showed, and repeatedly coming back, and the youth the Spurs showed. I think there's some of that too. And really, I wasn't all that impressed with Wemby's like tantrums there. He needs to grow up a little bit there. What he was like, see you guys, never.
We have to get athletes. This is apparently just an epidemic in the NBA, but we got to get athletes to stop hopping on the stage after a series is over in which you've just had your butt handed to you, either with a sweep or losing in 5, and talking about how you dominated the series. I don't even care if you believe it. Okay, yeah. That's fine. Just stop getting up there and talking about it.
Analytically, they won the series. Yeah. But man, Jalen Brunson. Of course, a lot of people are bringing back that Becky Hammon quote. I don't know, from I don't even know when it was. Like they could never win it because their main guy is a little guy. Now she also made a mistake there. I think she said the only one who did that was Steph. That's not true. Isaiah Thomas has 2 championships too. But I mean, Brunson now goes into the the little man, whatever you want to call it, Hall of Fame. I mean, you're talking Isaiah, you're talking Steph, you're talking Iverson. I mean, what Brunson did in this playoff run, including 45 in the last game, he's just an unbelievable player, and he has been, but he took it to a totally different level to me in this postseason.
Well, people are calling him the greatest New York Knick of all time already. The greatest New York Knick of all time. Where do you come down on that?
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Well, he does have a championship.
He did something that Ewing never did,
Yeah, that's always an interesting one, though. So I'm trying to think of like, okay, so, like Barkley, for example, could be one the greatest 76 or one of them, but no ring. So you're going to give like some dude who has a ring, that over him. I still think I might have to have Ewing, right, over him. I mean, just there for so long, a great player for so long. Yeah, they both went to one finals. Ewing didn't win his. Walt Clyde Frazier won a championship too, but I mean, he's on the all Knicks team, right? And no one would have said that going into this season.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've heard that the debate being thrown around there this weekend. I mean, Ian, what was the feeling like when the clock hit 0 and you knew that was it and it was over? The championship was won. I mean, by God, they showed Timothy Chalamet out there celebrating on the court and Timothy Chalamet celebrating in the locker room. So I almost felt like he was the 12th man out there, but good for him for getting more airtime.
Yeah, all the famous people were, I guess not as many as in New York, but fair amount made the trip to San Antonio. It looked like there was some famous people in the building to see, but I mean,
you and Kuharski just get left out of the building the other night. Didn't quite make it in.
Yeah, didn't quite make it in. Yeah, don't quite have the funds to make that. But like Joe said, I mean, Brunson he is so clutch. The lefty, he was the only one really that stepped up in that game for the most part for the Knicks. Scored, 45 of the 94 points. That's pretty ridiculous right there. And the Spurs the guards, like Dylan Harper was flashing, but then they would get down to crunch time and it looked like the guards kind of struggled. Fox was struggling. Some of the youngsters started to struggle down the stretch. Wemby wasn't really making any shots down the stretch. So it might have been a youth thing there. I wonder how much of it was youth versus fatigue for San Antonio there towards the end, because they did look a little
sloppy.
Yeah, they looked stretched, a little sloppy, especially in the guard play and turnovers, and couldn't make any shots. And for whatever reason, it felt like no matter what the score was going into the fourth quarter, it was going to be a one-possession game coming down to the end. And somehow the Knicks had gotten pretty much that rhythm down. And at that point, almost any game was going to come down to the fourth quarter with them. And so it played out once again. It was fun to watch. And, it was an impressive run. Cat did not have a great game. More foul trouble. Didn't play very much. And like you said, Brunson, I mean, I don't know if I would put Brunson as the best Knick ever. I would still probably put Ewing, but he's not far behind.
There you go.
Meanwhile, Fox may have changed his career trajectory for the worse here with the way this series finished.
Yeah, what was up with that?
Unbelievably bad. Also, Spurs fans, you talk about the celebrities, for the Knicks. I give a little bit more credit to those who travel, but I mean, how many Spurs fans sold out their tickets, man, for the NBA Finals? I mean, it's a little bit embarrassing. It's a little bit much. How many New York fans, even like, again, early in the series, I mean, that was just, I mean, like last night you could see maybe a little bit more just because like Spurs fans have lost some belief, but from the start it was like that. And I'll give you one more thing that I don't know about Brunson being the best Knick, but I do agree with people who say Spike Lee should get a ring. Talk about all those celebrities. That guy's had season tickets since 1985. I mean, he is at everything. He's talked trash to every major playoff opponent they've ever played since Ewing has been there. And he estimates he spent $10 million, following the Knicks. So give the guy a ring.
I mean, did they pour champagne on him, or did they just was it all directed towards Chalamet? I mean, how many people are in the locker room?
That's the thing. Like, if you're Spike Lee, you got to be like, Timothy, thanks for joining you're a good fan. You're a good young fan. Now you stand out here. It's time. Yeah, like I get the full bath.
K-Dot in the YouTube chat says Denver won with Jokic. Knicks win with Brunson. Is Carmelo overrated? Everywhere Carmelo's ever been, they just start winning as soon as he's gone.
Actually,
hello,
yes.
See ya.
Is he? Yes, he is overrated, actually.
I would agree. Yeah. Great run at Syracuse, though. He did win the college national championship.
He did. He had a good year.
He did. Carolina wins the Stanley Cup. New York wins the NBA championship. We'll take your full reaction at 615-737-1025. I will dive a little bit deeper into the Stanley Cup final. Coming up next, we got some takes off the Stanley Cup final for what this means for the Predators and Chris McFarland building their team. We'll get into that throughout the show. We will get into the Titans and all things NFL a little bit later in the program. Cory Curtis from News 2 with us at 8 o'clock. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. A little go New York, go. Bringing us back in. And it's not Kuharski singing it, so Rexrode's okay with it. A lot of text messages from Kuharski this weekend, by the way.
Yeah, but he doesn't really seem to care about things for like his own enjoyment. He just likes to be a troll to
That's
people.
a detriment of you, pretty much.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Although I will say some of the videos he sent were. I thought that was pretty cool. The story about the dude who wrote the "Go New York Go" song. That was kind of a cool little story. Like when I clicked on these, I'm like, what is this crap? Like, what is this, something stupid? And it was actually kind of interesting. So I guess I'll give him credit for that. But yes, the constant badgering from him is just it unfortunately sours this championship. It somewhat taints the entire thing.
So for the record, we're all, I think, as a show, willing to recognize Ian Safar as an NBA champion. We are not putting the same moniker on Paul Kuharski. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, you can do whatever you want. But I'd advise him to not talk much about this on Wednesday because, he's the essence of a fake fan.
There we go.
He probably could have named Brunson, and I don't know. Could he have named another player? Could he have named a second New York Knick going into the postseason? I doubt it.
I have my doubts. I do. I have my doubts.
So.
Maybe Towns. Maybe Towns.
The guy they call Cat. Is it Cat? Yeah, that's about it. So just really don't want to hear from Kuharski. But yes, happy for Ian. And Gentry. We have a lot of Knicks fans around. Gentry asked us. He was sending he was celebrating, sending like a champagne popping gif after they won. I'm like, oh yeah, man, that's awesome. He's been with them all through the years. I promise you, he could have named their ninth man going to the playoffs. See, there's the difference.
Yep, no doubt. Carolina wins the cup last night. They take down Vegas 3-0, the final in Game 6. Joe, it is the fewest amount of games needed to win the Stanley Cup since the Edmonton Oilers in 1988. So it was 19 total games for Carolina. They finished the playoffs with a 16-3 record. And you're like, I don't think people aren't going to think about them, I don't think, in terms of like all-time great teams. But when you factor in like the regular season that they had and a 16-3 record in the playoffs, like I said, nobody's done that since 88 when the Oilers were 16-2. So it's an incredible run that Carolina finishes off last night. Jordan Stahl wins the Conn Smythe Trophy as the most valuable player in the playoffs. The series really kind of changed on a dime when Brandon Bussey entered the series, and he was outstanding in goal for Carolina over this last stretch. But really, if you watch the games, Joe, like Game 5, it felt like Carolina just totally dominated, and they just had a stranglehold on Vegas. And it was the same thing last night. Like Carolina jumped out to that 1-goal lead, and then there was almost a 19-minute stretch where Vegas didn't have a shot, and a 30-minute stretch where they had 2. So it was total suffocation by Carolina last night, and they finished the job off and get their Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it was kind of boring other than watching. Just some of those stretches where it's like, Vegas can do nothing here other than watching just the frustration start to boil over on John Tortorella's face, that was enjoyable. But, yeah, really impressive. It's a great point. Yeah, again, it's like I just feel like because this team has a lot of great players, and just I think it's an exciting team to look at in terms of like if you can just build a team with a lot of good players and some, they look at like what Blake has become for them and things like that. You can still have a great team without having like a generational player, So I think that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool for Raleigh too. The scene there between Raleigh and Manhattan, some pretty awesome scenes, and Spartan legend Rod Brindamore. So this is a hell of a stat. He's the 4th person to captain and coach the same franchise to Stanley Cup to the Stanley Cup.
And he's the first one to do it in 70 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody want to take any shots at the other 3?
Well, I know Toe Blake's one of them.
Which is amazing on its own.
Yeah,
it's Toe Blake.
Toe Blake.
Toe Blake. Old-time hockey.
Honestly, I don't remember the other 2, but I know that Toe Blake's one of them.
Toe Blake, which is the 40s, Lester Patrick, which you're talking 28 and 33 with the Rangers, and then just a great name, Hap Day, with the Maple Leafs and the, and he coached them to 5 back when they were good in the 40s. Good job, Hap Day. So Toe Blake, Hap Day, Lester Patrick, now Rod Brind'Amour. That's a thing that you do. That's a thing that happens like around World War II, not in 2026. But so it's a pretty awesome story.
No, it's amazing. And Brind'Amour, to me, I think, and they were talking about this on the broadcast last night, he should be in the Hall of Fame as a player. Like he's a great player in the NHL. You're talking about 1,184 points. He played almost 1,500 games. He won a Stanley Cup. Like I think at some point he'd probably get in the Hall of Fame as a player anyway. But last night cements it. He's in. Like he's going to get in. He just won a Stanley Cup as a head coach. Like, and we've had this conversation with like Vrabel before too, right? Like it's a different situation because you're talking about somebody that just won a championship as a coach, but like a really, really, really good player, and now a coaching career that puts it on top of him. I mean, it's the Hockey Hall of Fame. It's not just a hockey player Hall of Fame. So I'd be really interested to see like what last night does for him. But I mean, last night is confirmation that I think we've known from the moment he stepped foot in the league that Rod Brind'Amour is a great coach, and this is his 8th year in Carolina. They've made the playoffs every year, and now they've finally broken through and they pushed through and they won a Stanley Cup. And like I said, I mean, it just felt at Game 5, it felt like something shifted. Like it was beyond just Bussy coming in. He made some big saves at key times when he had to, but frankly, he just didn't really have to a whole lot. Like I think Carolina totally just put a stranglehold on them in Game 5. And when they got that first goal, and specifically when they got their second, like, it's crazy to say this because we've seen some comebacks even in this final from down multi-goals. And we just watched an NBA Finals where, it didn't matter seemingly how much San Antonio got up. Like the Knicks were never out of it. But, Joe, as soon as it was 2-0 last night, I said it's over. I mean, Vegas has no chance to come back for this because they couldn't get anything going.
Yeah, which is – it's like at some point, it's like during the series, they just took their soul out of them,
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can't necessarily explain that, but you think about the way some of the games went early in the series versus the end, like it's like they figured something out, but also like they just took Vegas's will. And obviously it looked not long ago, it looked like there was just nothing that was going to stop those guys. And we were going to be sitting here talking about another Vegas championship. So to me, most of the league is pretty much celebrating right now, right? I mean, that just the fact that we don't have that to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people pointing out is the loss of Karlsson. I'm sure that was a big part of it. It wasn't all of it. Like, I mean, Carolina just was absolutely tenacious. Like they had the puck the whole time. And it wasn't just the loss of William Karlsson that all of a sudden Vegas couldn't complete a pass or get out of their own zone. But yeah, that's certainly a big part of it. But Carolina, again, 16-3 in the playoffs. I mean, it's unbelievable, the run that they just put together here. And they did it with multiple goalies. They did it with not anybody that I would classify as just an absolute superstar. They got a whole bunch of really, really good players. Now, there's somebody that's pretty darn close to superstar that will never get the credit because he's not offensively flashy. He doesn't score a lot of goals, a lot of points. But like Jacob Slavin last night played about as good of a game as you can play defensively. I mean, the guy is unbelievable.
Incredible.
He is the best defensive defenseman in the NHL. And by the way, he just completed, something that I don't think an American has done since Ken Morrow on the Miracle on Ice, where he wins the Olympic gold and the Stanley Cup in the same year. So shout out to Jake Slavin. I mean, he's unbelievable last night. Yeah,
no, he's incredible. And that's another one where it's like you look at the history that was made here between that and then, I mean, that is amazing when you think about going back to the $88. For people who don't know, that was we didn't know at the time, but that was the swan song for Wayne Gretzky. He got traded in August of '88, and to end that Oilers unbelievable dynasty. No one would ever think to compare, this Canes team to that, but it's a dominant run, and they've just been a really solid, really good they're like, I mean, they've been knocking on the door for a long time, with the doubts that do they have that guy to push them over the top? I think that's been a lot of the talk in Carolina in recent years, to actually get farther in the bracket, and to see them complete the mission is pretty awesome.
615-737-1025, our phone number. Carolina wins the Stanley Cup, and some things that I take away from that the Predators need to try to replicate as they're building their team out with Chris McFarland. We'll get into that coming up. We'll get into all things Titans and NFL a little bit later in the show. Cory Curtis with us at 8 o'clock. All that coming up. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. The New York Knicks win the NBA title. Carolina wins the Stanley Cup over the weekend. As Joey from Bellevue points out, big win for the USA, the World Cup as well. By the way, numbers pretty good on that. I think like 16 million people watched the USA World Cup game the other night. So Joe's a good start for Team USA in the World Cup as well. Offense, I'm here for it.
No, man. I mean, I was locked in on every second of that, and it was pretty exciting. I mean, this is where I'll actually listen to Kaharski, because he actually follows this team and knows anything about it. So good job, Kaharski. But he said it last week. It's we'll see on the goaltending, we'll see on the defense, but this team actually is going to be able to score goals. And man, it was a lot of fun watching them. I mean, and it's not like Paraguay is like terrible either, by the way. So that's a promising start. I think it's Australia next.
I believe so.
Friday, is that right? Yeah. So
yep.
I think we got a chance for this to really capture people with this team.
What do we think of what do we think of Zlatan on TV? He's an interesting guy, man. Zlatan. I saw an interview too where it was like Zlatan and Tom Brady. I was like, geez, what a combination of people these two are doing an interview together.
Oh God. Yeah. He's the whole crew is, I don't know, man. It's I don't know, but he's at least funny. He brings the entertainment value, at least.
He does. So good start for the USA in the World Cup as well. A couple of things, like if you're like Chris McFarland, looking at what you got on the roster, Carolina just wins the championship. Joe, one of the interesting things to me about the NHL is it seems to go in cycles. And I think if you're going to win a championship, you have to have some element of all of it, right? Like you've got to have some element of, enough scoring, enough depth scoring. You got to be competent enough in goal. You got to be competent enough on defense. So that's the prerequisite here. I mean, you're not going to just have some glaring total weakness out there, I don't think, and go finish off winning a championship. But I would say, back about 10 years ago, it was all about speed and skill, all of it. And Pittsburgh was buzzing up and down the ice, and they were winning championships, and people were trying to build their team and try to get as fast as they can get and get as skilled as they could get. And the physicality of the game, I mean, it wasn't lost, but it wasn't the same, right? Like it just, a lot of times, go back to like the 2007 Ducks or teams like that, like some of these heavier teams, or the Kings, right? In 12 and 14, heavy teams that won in the playoffs and made life miserable for their opponents. And then it switched to speed and skill, and you had to have that dynamic if you're going to keep up in the NHL. And I think over the last few years, when you look at what Florida has done and now Carolina, they play very similarly. I mean, they're not exactly the same personnel-wise, but they play pretty similarly. And they are just incredibly aggressive on the forecheck. They absolutely hound you to go get the puck. They are physical, but they've got enough skill, right? Like they've got enough skill to get the job done offensively, and they just hold on to the puck the whole game, right? I mean, they are the name of the game for those teams is puck possession, and they've got it the whole time. So it is interesting to me, Joe, how like the league goes in cycles. And right now, like that's the cycle that I think people are chasing of. You're trying to build a team that, yes, has offensive skill. Yes, you need to have some game breakers out there, but it's just hyper aggressive on the forecheck, and they make life really difficult for their opponents that way. So look, who knows what the formula is going to look like exactly when it comes to the Predators, when they're ready to compete for a championship. I mean, it could shift the other way. There are different ways to win championships and to build championship teams. But you talked about it. I mean, Carolina does not have superstar players. They've got some really, really good players, and they're deep with really, really good players. And it didn't hurt that Jordan Staal at the age of 37 decided to turn back the clock and turn into, some dynamic goal scorer in the Stanley Cup final. But it is interesting to me, like if you're an NHL general manager looking at it, like 10 years ago, it was all about speed, skill, get as much of it as you can get. And that's still important to have. but it's not like Carolina and Florida the last few years have been the most skilled team. They have some, but it's just the way that they play just absolutely suffocates people. And you saw it last night on full display.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have. I mean, you obviously have to have physicality, in the Stanley Cup play. You have to have depth, of course. I mean, this is a big thing with them. I mean, and down the middle, I mean, Aho obviously, Stankoven, like you said, then Stahl plays the way he's playing. I mean, think about a guy like, I don't really remember what year it was. There was a year where we talked a lot about like Taylor Hall with the Preds, right? But like a guy like Taylor Hall. Yep. Just up and down that lineup, guys. Yeah, but up and down that lineup with a bunch of like, high 20s, low 30 goal scorers, and just a really solid team that, again, they've kind of been adding to it, building it. The core. I mean, some people would look at the core a few years ago and say, is this really good enough, to be a championship team? But they just kept going with it. And I mean, I think you obviously have to give Rob Brindamore a lot of credit too when you talk about style of play. But I think I wonder if, like, is this a team that, like Prudential points out, Florida had their injury stuff this year and, so they're out of the way. So the path is kind of cleared for them. But like, is this a team that can do this again, or is this going to be a one-off? Or the Knicks and the Canes going to be one-offs? With maybe, some better teams that look, at least on paper, better teams, that they're competing with.
Maybe. I mean, Carolina has been this for 6 years. I mean, that's what they've been, right? Like, yeah. Which is really, I mean, they're elite in the regular season. Nobody has won more games than they have over the last 6-7 years. Like, it's when you combine regular season and playoffs, nobody has won more games than they have. So they've added to the core. I mean, look, the crazy part about all this is they had Mikko Rantanen for like 3 weeks, and he was what would qualify as, superstar level player. They had him for like 3 weeks, and then he was like, yeah, I'm not signing here. And they traded him. They ended up getting Stankoven after it, and he played great for them in the playoffs this year. So that part of it, some of it's just you turned a bad situation for you where you tried to go all in and it didn't work out. And you ended up getting another really good player out of that's younger and that plays center. And it's kind of amazing physically when you look at him. I mean, Loppy points it out. He's like 5'8". He's like $165, and he's out there making big plays and scoring big goals in the playoffs. So some of that is, if you're Chris McFarland looking to build the team, you're not just going to build the Carolina Hurricanes overnight. And here's another thing that Carolina had that the Predators at the moment don't have, and it's going to be necessary moving forward. You brought up Jackson Blake. Well, Jackson Blake, I think officially by game's end last night, I think he led him in points in the playoffs, and he's 22 years old, right? So you factor in all these guys that we just talked about with Jordan Stahl and Taylor Hall and Seth Jarvis and all these guys that are, established players in the NHL at this point. And then you have a guy like Jackson Blake who ends up playing great at 22 years old. And the Predators desperately need more of their, 21, 22, 23-year-olds to step in there and play great.
Yeah, right, exactly. If you want to talk about Blake, I think, has like 8 years left at $5 a year, so they've got him locked up, pretty well there for years to come. But if you're trying to copycat this, again, you can talk about style, but it's like you just have to have a lot of good players. They have to fit together, of course, too. But that's really like you have to have a lot of good players come up and become higher level NHL players than the Preds prospects have been of late, right? Like yes. If a bunch of these guys in recent years worked out the way people hoped, they could have something like this, right? But really, who has? Evangelista is the one guy, right? Out of and Matthew Wood is starting to come on now. So, but a bunch of those other guys who didn't pan out, that's what you got to have. And then, like you said, yeah, you got to get lucky with a deal here or there, because they were trying to go for it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, it's like, they got a team that's just, it's solid and sound. It certainly is going to be heard from moving forward too.
Well, and the other part of this is, somebody just texted in about, they also had an incredible backup goalie. Like the Brandon Bussey story is awesome. But I think it also shows you that goaltending, I hate to say it's not as important as it used to be, but like you don't need some superstar goalie to win a championship. I'm sorry, you just don't. And I think it's been proven time and time again at this point. I mean, look, Frederick Anderson is a good goalie. He's been in the league for a long time. He played really, really well for the most part in the playoffs for them. He's not some superstar goalie. Brandon Bussey played great. I mean, some of the saves he made last night were ridiculous in that game. But I mean, Brandon Bussey is an awesome story. He's not some superstar goalie. Like I'm sorry, it's just you need good goaltending. You don't necessarily need superstar goalies, if that makes any sense. And I think Carolina is a perfect example of that. And look, Florida has that. Like Florida had, $10 million goalie in Sergei Bobrovsky, who's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. So like add that to the mix. I mean, technically they do have a superstar goalie. But I mean, I think everybody who watched Florida win back-to-back cups and get to 3 cup finals in a row, Joe, would tell you, yes, Bobrovsky played well and was good. He was also probably about 4th or 5th on the list of the reason that they won those championships, right? So it's just the game is different that way.
Yeah, it's another championship that de-emphasizes the goalie. You need great, goalie play at times for sure. Like
yes, timely.
Whoever you have in there is going to have to play great if you're going to win this thing. But yeah, I mean Anderson, both of those guys had sub 900 save percentages this year. Anderson 874. I mean, so I mean that's just it's just if you can have one, great. But yeah, like I feel like if we're talking about copycatting, I mean it's pretty clear at this point. Like you got to have the offense. And you have to have guys who you feel like can step up and be solid, and then you're fine.
Well, and I think
that is a big change.
I think more than anything, when I look at Florida, when I look at Carolina, it's the ability to take control back of a game. Like very rarely in Florida's runs did you look at them and they were just getting totally overwhelmed out there and they couldn't settle it down. And that's even with McDavid and Draisaitl on the other side of the cup final. It's like those guys have the ability to just totally overwhelm you if you let them. But Florida was always able to kind of reset, and they were able to get the puck back and go back on the attack. Like they never spent, you never felt like Florida was hanging on for 3/4 of the game or Carolina's hanging on for 3/4 of the game. Like they've got an ability to reset it, get back in, and control the play. And that's way easier said than done. But I think that's a really important thing that people just don't look at. Like when you're taking on a little bit of water, the ability to chip a puck out and get out of it, or the ability to, every now and then, last night they did it a few times where they were taking on a little bit of water, they got a stick on the puck and they just iced it down. Then they won the faceoff and they were back on the attack. And it's like, okay, nobody's going to look at that at the end of the night, but they're really good at killing plays. And that's where like Slavin in particular, Slavin probably killed, 15 plays last night that Vegas was trying to set up, and he got a stick in there, chipped it out, and it was done. And you're like, okay, nobody's ever going to look at that. But that just totally ended an offensive threat right there with one guy.
Do they win this championship if Brady Shea's on their team?
I don't know. It's a good question. If Brady Shea
Someone
played
did
like
point
he's played
out
the last
that
couple of years for the Predators, probably not. Now, would Brady Shea play a lot better on the Carolina Hurricanes than he would the Nashville Predators? Yeah, probably.
There is that too.
It is kind of amazing. They've had not only Rantanen, they had Gensel for a little while, and just, pretty high-level guys, and then they just go out there and win it this year. 615-737-1025. More of your thoughts to get to on the Preds. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. What can you learn from Carolina's Cup win that you can apply towards the Nashville Predators as your Chris McFarland taking over a new situation and trying to build a championship team of your own? Taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Alex says, it feels easier to build the team in the image of Carolina than prime Pittsburgh. There are only so many high-speed, high-skilled players. I mean, I would largely agree with that just from the standpoint, Joe, like it's easier to build a team like Carolina than it is to get really lucky and land Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. I mean, certainly. Then like that's an incredible luck of the draw that Pittsburgh had on that front. I would say this, it's hard to do both. I think the Carolina model is where, if you're a Predators fan, I think you're hoping that the quantity of the prospects you have eventually leads to quality, right? Like they've got so many guys that they've already drafted. They got a lot more draft picks coming up in this year's draft. You know, we'll see what they end up doing with it. But, I mean, Carolina has drafted a lot of their guys. They have used some of the assets they've had to trade for guys. And look, and they've made some good decisions in free agency. Like a big guy in the playoff run this year that made a huge difference for them is Nikolai Ehlers. He's a free agent. So they just signed him in free agency last year, and he came in. He scored some huge goals for them in the playoffs. So it's a combination of all of it. Like you got to draft well. They've made some good decisions via trade. I mean, we talked about a decision via trade that didn't work out for them, and then they flipped it into something else. Like they traded for Taylor Hall, and that worked out well for them. So like they've done the combination of all of those things, of trading, signing the right free agents, and having good draft picks that they've built their core around. So again, you got to have some level of all of it. I would agree that the Carolina model is easier just because it doesn't require, landing absolute superstar players. And if you're a Predators fan, you're looking at it and you're saying, all right, we have all these prospects, all these dudes that people have either been talking about for a long time. They've got a ton of more draft picks coming up this year. Out of all that, can you find some way to maneuver and get yourself to a team that is pretty deep, that even if they don't have, somebody you look at as a top 10 player in the league, can you be good enough with the rest of your roster where you can build something in the vein of this Carolina team out? And then, of course, the big difference in all that, too, is not only does Carolina have all these guys that they've built that are good players, Joe, but they have an elite head coach. And I don't know how much it matters, but it definitely matters some.
Has to matter. That has to be a big part of it. As much as coaching would be a part of something. And yeah, of course it's easier than holding out hope to get that superstar player at the very top of the draft. But it is very hard to get that many good players on one roster. There is a salary cap that counts this league too. It may be going up, but it's like you have to make all that work. If guys get too productive, then you might end up, signing some big deals. I mean, to make it all work like that is a balancing act. And like you said, you have to go out and make the right acquisitions. And some of their go for it acquisitions haven't worked out, but they've kept plugging and just kept adding, and then they finally got the perfect mix and perfect situation this year. I mean, it's still more replicable than the superstar player that you have to be terrible for in the right year.
Well, and again, the coach part of this, it's a system that Brendan Moore has run for years, where they identify guys that can fit it, or they feel like can fit it, and they go get them. And they don't necessarily go chase people. Like, they've moved some people out of there too that clearly didn't fit their system, and they've got in the right combination of players here. And the Predators, you're still in the process of trying to identify, like, what is your long-term coach going to look like? Is Andrew Brunette going to be here both in the long term and the short term? I mean, I don't know. It's June 15th. Chris McFarland's been on the job a couple weeks now, Joe, and Brunette's still a coach as far as I know. Does that mean anything to you that there hasn't been a move there that's been made as of yet?
Yeah, means something. Obviously, it means he didn't. I guess this series just ended. I guess you wait until all the hockey's over to know for sure that there isn't somebody, but yeah, I think that if he had a guy, we would know by now. I understand that the Trotz thing took a while with Hines and Brunette and all that, but yeah, it's almost, I think I'd be surprised at this point, right? If there's any sort of even murmurs about a change.
Well, the Trotz thing did take a while with John Hines and then eventually hiring Brunette. The calendar was also much different. It wasn't June the 15th. Like Trotz was operating at the end of April, and they went out and hired somebody in May or whatever it was, whenever Brunette came in. So it's right. June the 15th. So you got the draft coming up in 2 weeks. You got NHL free agency here in about 2.5, 3 weeks that you got to operate with. So, the calendar is just at a much different time of year. So it doesn't mean they can't do it right now. But the more time that has gone on, like the fact that you didn't see Andrew Brunette canned within the first few days of Chris McFarland getting in the building, I take as a good sign for him. Not convinced yet that it absolutely means that he's safe, but I take it as a good sign.
Is there anybody on either bench from last night who would make any sense or has any connection whatsoever?
It's a good question. I'm not going to pretend to know the ins and outs of the assistant coaching tree for Vegas and Carolina. The one thing that stands out. The one thing that could be interesting is I don't know what's going to happen with John Tortorella. I don't think he'd come here, and I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense for the Predators right now, based on where they are. But technically, I think he's done in Vegas after last night, unless they just decide this offseason to bring him back. But I think the plan was to go through the end of the year and then reevaluate. So we'll see what happens on that front.
Throw Cassidy back in there.
Yeah,
now?
Just get Cassidy back in.
Yeah,
come on back, Bruce.
You're under contract. Go do some work.
That'd be something. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We will get back into the NBA Finals, the Cup Final, a little bit later in the show. Coming to the next, we'll switch gears, get into the NFL. Which teams and or players are facing the most pressure heading into 2026? That's coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Monday morning, taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. We are presented by Green Ventures Landscaping. Property managers, if you manage it, they maintain it. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Cory Curtis from News 2 will be with us at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit. So that's coming up here in about an hour. We have the Rob Rant a little bit later this hour on the program as well. So taking your thoughts on that front. It is minicamp week for the Tennessee Titans, so they will be in action on the minicamp front later this week. And then after that, it's the break in the offseason, and then training camp right around the corner at the end of next month. So it'll be here before you know it. We'll get into some Titans minicamp stuff a little bit later in this hour. Joe, looking at the NFL season coming up in 2026, it's a very interesting year to me on paper. We've seen the Rams load up with the Myles Garrett trade, and they were already a pretty darn good team anyway. You've got the fascination of Kansas City and exactly what they're going to be after a disappointing year last year of, all right, well, number one, is Mahomes healthy? Number two, if he is, how good are they? Are they just going to rebound, or are they a team that's still in transition? You know, maybe L'Jarius Sneed puts them back over the top in Kansas City this year. We'll see. And then there are some of your typical storylines of, all right, well, is this the year for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens? Or is this the year for Josh Allen in Buffalo? Or does, like, the insane collection of talent that they got on the offensive side of the ball in Cincinnati result in, I don't know, them making the playoffs again at some point? There's a lot that you could go through and kind of sort through this year in the NFL. But, Joe, looking at it on paper heading into 2026, what are some storylines, some teams, maybe some players that you look at and say, yeah, either that team or that group of players got a whole lot of pressure on them heading into this season in 2026?
Yeah, when you ask this question, there are a lot. You hit on a lot of them there for sure. But, I mean, Allen, Jackson, and certainly you're talking coaching changes now.
Allen
right?
Jackson, good country music artist.
Yeah, there you go. Both of those guys, new coaches, and we're waiting for them. They're great players. They're top tier quarterbacks, but can they be champions? You hit on the Bengals. I mean, I think it's a big one. I think the Texans and C.J. Stroud. There's a lot of pressure on C.J. Stroud this year. I don't think there's any question about it with the Texans. I continue. I mean, Justin Herbert, we continue to consider him a great player, or some people do. He's a very good player. He's a very talented player. They had injuries last year, but okay. Like, can you and the Harbster, are you guys going to take it to a new level, or is this just going to be like a pretty good team year in and year out? Certainly the Rams, I mean, they're an obvious one. I mean, you talk about pressure. I mean, you can't bypass New England, right? And just everything going on there. You make the A.J. Brown trade. You're coming off the Super Bowl. The coach, everything's cooled down on the scandal front, but it's there. It's ready to percolate for sure. When anything goes bad this year, I mean, I think there's just a lot of pressure on them. They have a way tougher schedule, and it's just that obviously it's going to be a fascinating year. But then you flip around the other side of the A.J. Brown trade, and I look at Jalen Hurts, and I think he's one of the guys under the most pressure, under the most microscope this year. Okay, the divorce happened, all that stuff is over. They've sort of replenished his receiving core, but what does that mean for him and for them? I feel like a lot of this is in the AFC, other than, of course, the Rams I just mentioned, the Eagles. I would also, I look at even like the Bears, I think would be a team. Was that a 1-year wonder type thing with Caleb Williams? Obviously, I think he answered a lot of questions last year, but there's still the matter of, like, okay, is this a number 1 overall pick going to be a great player situation, or still that inconsistency that sort of limits you?
I think Josh Allen is at the top of this list because you've seen so much regular season success, and you've seen, especially like last year. I mean, the picture opened up for you. You didn't have Mahomes in Kansas City to deal with in the playoffs. You didn't have Baltimore to deal with, and you still go on the road to Denver. And while you made some big plays in that game, I mean, I think Allen threw for 3 touchdowns in that game. There are 2 interceptions that you have. You had a couple of missed throws that had you made them, who knows how the game turns out there. And you lose in overtime on the road to Denver in a season where, I mean, it was there for you. It was there for the taking. And he's 30, right? I mean, and not that Josh Allen still doesn't have several more years of high-level football in him, but he is 30. And I do think we're starting to get to, not just with him, and you can throw Lamar into this discussion too, but I think with Allen, you're starting to get to, all right, is this ever going to happen? Like, is this going to happen where you break all the way through, knock down the door, and win the championship? I think everybody agrees that he's good enough to do it. He's had performances in the playoff in the past that have been good enough to do it. And whatever circumstance you want to throw out there, I mean, the Kansas City game from a few years ago is crazy, where he plays about as well as you can play, and then you leave Kansas City 13 seconds on the clock, and apparently that was enough. So, like, we understand the history there, but he is 30 years old. The door totally opened up for him last year. They still couldn't get it done. And if you go through another year of them not at least getting there and getting to the Super Bowl, I mean, that to me, if you're a Buffalo fan, you start to look around and you just say, all right, like, is this ever going to happen if they don't do it this year?
Like, I assume Buffalo fans are all in on him, even though, like you said, he did, he has some culpability for last year, but I assume they're all in on him. At some point, I guess you just throw up your hands and say, we must be cursed. He's just the next Jim Kelly.
I mean, they've changed the coach, so you got a new coach heading into this. Kind of.
Yeah.
He was there, but kind of.
Right. But yeah. But it's like how many Dan Marinos are there where it's like everyone would agree that this is an all-time great quarterback? I mean, I think anybody would. I don't know where people like, where would Marino be on the list now? He falls down the list as time goes on because there's more people. But Marino is one of those examples of a guy everybody would probably agree was a great quarterback, didn't win it all. He only played in 1 Super Bowl. This era could have multiple Marinos. Like if Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, never win a championship, because you're right, with Josh Allen, it was not his fault. He's standing there on the sideline at Kansas City and watching something unbelievable unfold. And Lamar Jackson in Buffalo last year does, an incredible game duel between those two, and he does everything you need to do, and Mark Andrews drops a freaking ball. But both of them, to me, are like, where the clock is ticking, and I think they're clear. Like, they are great players. They're Hall of Fame level quarterbacks, I think, right?
Yes, for sure.
They may never win a title. How many are there like that? I don't know that many generally agreed upon, great quarterbacks that were like the very top of the list during their era who didn't win at least 1 championship. There aren't many.
There's not many. And the other part of that is, I mean, it's obviously Mahomes and the Chiefs have been the main thing that's been in the way of those guys. But now you start to look behind you and you're like, okay, well, Drake May just got to the Super Bowl. I mean, we talked about it with Charles last week. I mean, that 2024 class, save for, McCarthy and Penix, like, you're looking at it and you're saying, geez, okay. I mean, some of those guys are pretty good. I mean, you got Bo Nix in Denver, and Bo Nix, if you watch Bo Nix play, you're not always blown away by it. But I mean, the fact is he's coming there and he's won a lot of games. So you've got Bo Nix, you've got Drake May, and hopefully if you're a Titans fan, you're hoping by the end of this next season or the season after that, you can throw Cam Ward into that mix. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Allen's about to be 30, and those guys behind him aren't really going anywhere. So it feels like with Kansas City getting a little bit older, we'll see what their response kind of looks like this year. But they don't feel like this immovable threat that they've been over the last 5-6 years. And if you can't take advantage of that, if you're Buffalo or if you're Baltimore, or even throw Burrow in there. I mean, at least Burrow has been to a Super Bowl, and those other two guys we've talked about haven't been. But I mean, it's been, on the whole, I think really disappointing if you're a Bengals fan in the aftermath of that. I mean, number one, the guy can't stay healthy, and number two, when he is healthy, they've either got an absolute sieve of a defense out there and can't stop anybody, or you run into Baltimore at the wrong time or whatever it is. They haven't been able to replicate getting back to that point. So I think there's all sorts of storylines from the quarterback front in the AFC that are pretty interesting on that front. But I started with Allen. Like, to me, this just feels like a massive year for Josh Allen.
Yeah, no doubt. And if you want to take this to more like coaches, I mean, you just hit on. I mean, Zach Taylor's got to be right around the top of the list of the bleep or get off the pot year, right?
Well, and I would say, like, the Rams, people are going to point to and be like, okay, well, it's like a super team. You guys are loading up. There's pressure there, and there is. Well, at least like the Rams, most of the people on that team, or at least like the chief guy, like Stafford has won not that long ago. McVay has won not that long ago. And I know there's new people in there now. They've got Puka Nacua, and you just brought in Myles Garrett. There's pressure there. Don't get me wrong. But, I mean, they won the Super Bowl 5 years ago. So it's not like they're going through some long drought here or anything.
Right. It's just they're the team that we're all – they have the pressure of – that's probably the best kind of pressure. Not the, like, are you ever going to do it, but just like, okay, you have the team to do it.
Yeah.
So go do it. Most just about every other city would sign up for that right now.
A lot of your thoughts
what
to
they
get
got
to
going
on this front. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Teams, players around the NFL that you think had the most pressure on them heading into 2026. More coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Throwing it out there, who's got the most pressure on them heading into the 2026 NFL season? Herb in Kentucky says this, Joe, says it's a dumb question. 31 teams in the NFL have pressure to get better. One team has the pressure to stay on top. I guess technically that's true. I would say that there are layers and tiers to that, you know? I don't know that anybody's expecting the Vegas Raiders to go out there this year and win the Super Bowl, or the Arizona Cardinals, who have very few options as a viable quarterback right now, a first-year head coach. Like, I think there are different levels to all this, would be my point.
Yes, the most. The most would be teams with more than others, which does exist.
It does exist.
It is. Now, granted, there are some Detroit Lions fans who probably think that their team still has the window open to win a championship. So they might say that they have a lot of pressure, but I just want them to know
I was going to bring them up.
Disappointed.
I was going to bring them up like that. To me, there are teams right now that I think you wonder, are you in your window still? Have you missed your window? Like the 49ers or another team I'd throw in there. Like, you know, it feels like we had that conversation with them every year of, all right, you know, there's been a lot of success that they've had under Kyle Shanahan. They had a ton of injuries last year. Brock Purdy, when he played pretty well for San Francisco last year. But now they've lost Robert Saleh. They've lost Gus Bradley. Like, they've got some changes that they've made to their personnel. I mean, Brandon Ayuk's out of the building, and based on some of the things he's talking about, probably good that he's out of the building. So, like, it's a different vibe, a different era there in San Francisco, but like, I'd put them in there. I mean, Ed's asking about the Packers. Like, the Packers, I think, got a lot of pressure. They've got a Micah Parsons trade that they did last year, and they just extended their coach. I think there's a ton of pressure on the Packers heading into this year. There's a lot of teams I think that would fall into that category of, are you in your window to win? And if you think you are, how can you capitalize on it this year?
Yeah. With the Packers, like you said, the Micah deal, that to me necessitates a real run real soon. And it's nobody's fault when somebody gets hurt, but that's a real thing. Yeah, the Lions are the difference between those two is that the Packers have a young, still, to me, like, franchise quarterback, and I think Goff has proven to be, you know, a really good quarterback. I mean, he was actually great last year.
Yeah.
With bad circumstances, which is, you know, he's had great circumstances. He kind of carried them even with a huge step back up front. So they tried to refurbish that line. So we'll see. But to me, I just don't see them quite being. I mean, they're going to be a good team, but I just don't see them quite being up to that level. It just seems like. Really, it seems like in the NFC, so I guess this is where, like, you do have a lot of pressure. It's just like the Rams and the Seahawks. I mean, like, everybody's just forgetting about them. I wouldn't put them under a high-pressure situation because they just won it all. But certainly they're a team you expect to be right there, and it kind of feels like maybe the NFC is like those two and then a whole bunch of we'll see. Like, the Eagles roster still looks really good, but I don't know. I mean, look, like it or not, people may be like, "Oh, got AJ out of here." Look at his production and what he meant to them. I mean, you don't just snap your fingers and replace that.
Jacob on the YouTube chat says Denver's got a good team. I'm not sold on Bo Nix being the answer there. I think this year will be a big find out year with him. I mean, I remember last year, Joe, I watched Bo Nix play complete games like 4 times and saw 4 completely different things. Like, he played against the Titans and they won the game against the Titans, but I was like, man, this guy's not good. Like, he was not good in that game. I watched him play against the Packers and he looked like an all-pro out there. I was like, good Lord, who is this? I mean, you watch him play in the Buffalo game in the playoffs, and he made some huge plays down the stretch in that game, and then he gets hurt, obviously, and they just had no shot heading into the AFC title game. But I don't know that I don't know that the consistency is there yet with Bo Nix, but at his top level, he's pretty good.
Yeah, look, I was a complete doubter / hater with him coming out of college. It's like we saw that, we've seen this guy through college. Look, Oregon did a great job of giving him the answers, but this is like a college system QB. And then it's like, okay, so he's also an NFL system QB because he has Sean Payton. But at some point, you have to give the guy credit. He's way better than I thought he'd be. I don't know where it goes from here. Does it level off a little bit? I guess I'd probably think so because I still have some, quite a bit of doubt there, but he has answered a lot of questions. You have to give him his credit for what he's done so far.
Where's Duval fall on this? Everybody thinks they've had the worst draft of all time. So they just won the division last year, 13-4. I mean, if they're good again, I think we might have to admit that their super genius GM might actually be good at this. I'm hoping they fall flat on their face, but I mean, we'll see what nobody's going to think of Jacksonville in this conversation because you've got, Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen, and frankly, it's Jacksonville. So how many people really care? But I'm interested to see how good they are this year because if they're bad, we can have a lot of fun with this general manager and the draft they just had.
I mean, it's amazing. Like their points differential was like 4th in the league last year. I understand they play in the AFC South, but yeah, you totally forget that they went 13-4. They won their last 8 games. I don't think there's any question Liam Cohen can coach. Trevor Lawrence took a step. But yeah, I don't think of them. I think of the Texans as the team under pressure.
Yeah.
Because of the court and just, the Texans, because the Texans also, they have a defense that's like, okay, this defense this is a defense you can put into any big NFL game and be like, yeah, deal with these guys.
Well, they've got a quarterback decision to make.
And there's that too. But yeah, the Jags just kind of floating out there.
Hey,
just kind of they're a really, really interesting team. And if they do take a huge step back this year, and again, you have to see, like, what does it look like? Like, what does this particular draft yield? Is it a whole bunch of like, oh my God, they did make all these mistakes? It could flip real fast on the kid,
It could.
They could flip real fast on him, but yeah, they are totally like the forgotten team.
They are.
Duval.
From last year.
No respect for the Jags. I know somebody coming up at 8:00, they'll have great respect for the Jags. That is Cory Curtis. But I think he has billboards in Jacksonville of fans that hate him. It's like, wow, this guy from Nashville is a real jerk.
Yeah, they need to know more about Cory Curtis. We need to start a campaign so that they really, we could maybe string together some Cory Curtis, insults about them and like get him on some, Insta reels or whatever the kids do, get a real hate campaign going for Cory.
I mean, in all seriousness on Jacksonville, if you're talking non-quarterback, I'd have to go around the league. I'm sure you can find some better examples, but I bet it's not too far down the list of like non-quarterbacks that you need to see play really well this year. Travis Hunter's got to be up there, given what they gave up to go get him, what their thought process was behind it, and how he basically got almost nothing out of him last year, and it didn't matter. He ended up 13-4 anyway, but I would have to think that when you start stacking up the non-quarterbacks around the league that you got to start to see something from, Travis Hunter in year 2 would be near the top of that list.
And again, that's the GM, right, too. That's because so if you again, we'll see what happens with this draft. Maybe he's a genius, but if it sort of even just plays out like, yeah, he might have reached with some of these, and the guy he sold the farm to doesn't have a huge breakthrough season this year, and it's starting to look rough. It's like, man, look, like, okay, yeah, like they're pretty good. Like their coaching is pretty good. Their quarterback, they have some good pieces in place. They had a good team. I mean, it's not like he came in and most of the team that performed well last year was in place, right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden it's going to look like, so actually this guy is totally mismanaging things. And think about where they could be had they not made the Travis Hunter deal. I agree. Of non-quarterbacks, I don't know that there's obviously there's a microscope on, an AJ in New England,
sure,
and things like that. But Travis Hunter's got to be real high on the list.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get into the Titans with mandatory minicamp coming up this week. Take more of your thoughts. Our football offseason coverage brought to you by Tennessee Brew Works. Locally brewed, community-driven. Tennessee Brew Works, the official craft beer of football offseason coverage here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. We'll have more coming up next here on Robby and Rexrode. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. We'll have the Rob rant coming up here in just a few minutes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at 102.5 The Game for live shows and exclusive content. You can join our one-day award-winning YouTube chat. I don't know what it's going to win an award for, but it'll be something in the not-too-distant future. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Joe, it is a mandatory minicamp week for the Tennessee Titans. So you've got minicamp coming up for a couple of days, and then after that, they're out of here. And the next thing on the agenda will be training camp after that. Cameron on the text line did point out earlier, says minicamp. No. Nothing actually happening at the Titans facilities because it's June. None of it actually happened unless it's good. And then it's rock solid 100% proof that a player is a star. So we got to keep our eye on that the rest of this week, Joe. Maybe Cam Ward and OTAs is just kind of laying the groundwork where he's going to go out there in minicamp and just light it up. We'll see.
It'd be nice to just not have a day of Cam Ward being bad and everybody screaming about what it means. But yes, that is funny. It's like Cam Ward stuff means nothing. Carnell Tate good stuff. Take it to the bank, baby.
Here it comes.
You got to balance those two. I saw Kaharski wrote something about that. Glad he occupied his time with something he knows a damn thing about rather than the NBA.
Hey, that may be the nicest thing you've said about Paul Kuharsky and his coverage ever. He does know what he's talking about on the football front.
I fully respect his coverage. He just needs to stay in his lane.
No, I mean, in all seriousness, one of my buddies was asking me this over the weekend. He's like, it's mini camp. After OTAs, do you get any noticeably different excited for mini camp being there? And I was like, no, I do not. I mean, if it's OTAs, mini camp, I will be excited for about, 3 days when training camp gets here, Joe. And then it very quickly gets to, all right, let's get to the regular season. Let's see how quickly we can get there.
Well, you'll get to the first preseason game. It's like, okay, we'll at least get to see something. And I guess, at least get to see the backup quarterbacks a little bit, maybe some of these skill guys, maybe some of these young guys get a little bit of time. And then you get through a few minutes of that game and you're like, okay, that'll do it. Thank you. But hey, no other sport even bothers to try to get you interested in anything until they actually play games that count. So
that's true.
Different world.
It's a different world for sure. I mean, if you're looking at stuff on the defensive side of the ball to get excited about, I mean, I am going to be interested to see how quickly into the regular season do these guys mesh together, and if things work out reasonably well, because I think we know heading into a season, if you're expecting everything on your checklist on either side of the ball to work out exactly how you hoped, you're probably setting yourself up for failure at that point if you're a fan. But if the Titans have a reasonable hit rate on the defensive side of the ball with all the changes that they've made, the people they've brought in, obviously the coach that's now in charge of that, I do think an interesting question is, how good are they? How good is that side of the ball? I think we all can see that offensively, you got a really young quarterback. You've got an exciting player in Carnell Tate, but you're talking about a rookie heading into all this. So I think there's going to be a natural grace period that people have for the offense and the expectation of those two guys in particular. How much better do they get as the season goes? On defense, I mean, you brought in a veteran established player in Franklin Myers, some veteran established players in Flott and Taylor on the corner front. You've switched things up with the way you're going to be calling things with Saleh coming in. You got a new defensive scheme, new defensive system. You do have young guys at very important spots on the edge that I think people are interested to see, but there's a lot of experience on the defensive side of the ball. So I think that's a huge question, is if you get a reasonable hit rate on the defensive side of the ball with some of these acquisitions you've made, how good are you on defense?
Yeah. And look, I expect pretty good. I expect they will have a decent hit rate. You can never count on across the board, but I expect them to stop the run. And I expect them to be able to figure out pressure and affecting the opposing quarterback at a pretty high level. I think the secondary still could be vulnerable. That's going to be interesting. If you're going to hit rate it back there too, I think you could have a pretty good defense. I'm going to be disappointed this year if they don't have at least a solid middle of the pack overall NFL defense. Now, it's harder to have that if your offense is terrible. So these two sides work hand in hand. Like, you have to be able to help the defense and sustain drives and not keep going 3 and out and putting them back on the field and things like that. But I think the prospects look awfully good over there to at least, again, be solid and in a lot of games hold the score down to where you're in a close game even if your offense is struggling.
I mean, how good is the Alontae Taylor Cordell Flott combo? I don't know. I mean, I think it's got a chance to be pretty good. There's a lot that goes into that, obviously. I mean, if they've got no pressure on the quarterback coming off the edge, and then it doesn't really matter how good they are. If you get reasonable pressure and then you factor in what you think you're going to get from Simmons and Franklin Myers up the middle, that's where I think this defense can be transformed, not to steal a Vrabalism, but from good to great. Like, if you get reasonable pressure on the edge, and I think the strength of the football team, much less the defense, is Franklin Myers and Simmons up the middle there, then I think that's going to help Flott and Taylor out a lot on that front.
I think as long as you're not asking them to be locked down, top of the league corners who have to hold their coverage for 4 or 5 seconds at a time, then I think they're going to be fine. Yeah, you give them pressure, and I think they're solid. You should be fine out there. Can they stay healthy? If you tell me those guys are going to be out there all year, that's pretty good outcome, I think, for everything, because I do think the pressure. Again, the pressure is, yes, I agree. The strength is up the middle. There is definitely a big question about how many guys on the edge are actually going to be able to just beat their guy consistently and get home, or at least affect the quarterback. There's a lot of unknowns on the edge, and even including Robinson and what he's going to look like here a year after the injury.
Jermaine Johnson, yeah, I mean, for sure.
Yeah. Yes. Now I'm channeling Kaharski. Yeah. Jermaine Robinson, Jermaine Johnson. Sure.
Well, yeah.
Denard Walker, Denard Wilson.
It's a lot of Denard Walkers that were thrown in there. Yeah. He is a huge question here, because if he's 7.5, 8 sack guy, which is what he was before the injury, then that's a pretty big difference to 3 sacks that he was last year. And I know it's not just as simple as the sack part of it, but if he's fully healthy and ready to go, I mean, you're going to need all the help you can get on the edge out there. I just think if you look at their defense, if they can get decent pressure on the quarterback from the edge group, I think they've got a chance to be pretty good. I mean, we'll see on the Anthony Hill Jr. front, but I'm also I know nobody talks about it, nobody cares about it that much anymore because it's just the nature of the position. But how much does it matter if Cedric Gray's really good and they found a linebacker in Anthony Hill Jr. that, it becomes clear halfway through the season that's a pretty good pick? Well, how much does that matter? Having a pretty good linebacking duo. And then, Cody Barton making a lot of money, but it's not, like I said, it's not bad to have depth with Cody Barton in there. So, I mean, nobody's going to look at that and start listing off the reasons why the Titans defense is going to be good. It's wow, linebacker play. But it'd be nice to have if Anthony Hill comes in at the age of 21 and can make an immediate impact.
Insert average linebacker play into the defenses that got Robert Saleh 2 head coaching jobs, and tell me if he has those jobs.
Probably not.
I'm going to say no. I mean, those guys, especially Warner, but I mean, it was a tremendous impact. No, it makes such a difference. And no, I think it's exciting. You don't want to put too much on the rookie, but I think Gray, you think about what we thought of him as a rookie when there was injury, but also questions about, gosh, you can't really get on the field. And, they don't seem to really be too high on him. And then what you saw last year, what if he takes another step from that? And with Saleh and his system, clearly knowing how to, get get the most out of linebackers, get guys at that position play at a high level. Yeah, that could be a big part of this whole picture.
Let's head back to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Steve in Franklin to the program. Steve, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. So I wanted to see if you all had a gut feeling about what happens with Will Levis, whether the 3 preseason games determine his fate with the Titans, or he stays no matter what, or does he go no matter what? And I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Steve. I mean, Joe, if you're forcing me to like nail down a prediction for him, my guess is it goes pretty similarly to the Malik Willis route, where he plays in the preseason. There's some sort of like quarterback injury that happens around the league or something, and somebody gets Will Levis for like a 7th-round pick. That's my guess.
Yeah, I think that's I think it just makes sense to, give him a showcase. It's probably, again, not ideal for him, even though, again, it's different coaches and all that, but just a fresh start's probably preferred if you're a guy in his position, just a total fresh start. But I think he'll get an opportunity in these preseason games, and yeah, we'll see. Like if they can even get anything, if anybody wants to trade anything for him, I still think he's a decent candidate for a guy who in a couple years could be a QB2 for someone, get an opportunity, look good, and kind of rejuvenate his career. But he's got a lot to prove to get to that point. Obviously, this league now is on alert for guys like that. You would think that there'd be some GMs around the league who would look at him and say, I mean, he could be a guy, right? Like you look at everything. It was a bad situation. He was bad. He was doing weird stuff in the field, but he could be a guy at some point. I would think that there'd be a GM out there who'd be willing to part with a real low pick just to find out at some point.
We will have the Rob rant coming up next. Cory Curtis from News 2 at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
Where are the fans? There's no fans here. Where are they?
Phil Rivers, I know you have 93 kids. Dadgummit.
Well, at least he didn't say he hated his father.
Why does it take me 14 minutes to pee?
Now we're getting into Butch Jones territory. What was the color?
Somebody run over the fraternity. Throw a freaking brick through their window.
Did you go to the bathroom all day, Paul?
Did I talk to Michael? Micah.
You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. It is time for the Rob Rant, brought to you by Rapid Response Generators. Power when it matters most, and served by the Wine Cellar in Hendersonville. We got Cory Curtis coming up at 8 o'clock here on the program. Joe, if I had to line up every person in our nation, there are probably only a select few that are more qualified to have this conversation I'm about to engage in than you are. And I'm very excited to have this conversation with you on the program. Let me say on the front end that I realize that what I'm about to rant about, and it's actually part of my rant, the general population probably doesn't care about all that much. So let me just go ahead and tell you, I recognize that on the front end. But this thought occurred to me the other night, Joe, as I'm watching the NBA Finals. The Knicks wrap up the championship, and pretty quickly into the coverage, the studio goes down there to Stephen A. Smith, who's having a hard time like containing himself with the Knicks winning the championship. And I will freely admit, like, it was hilarious to watch. Like, I somewhat enjoyed it, watching Stephen A. Smith out there in the aftermath of his team. I mean, he's like unashamedly a Knicks fan, winning the championship. But it did get me thinking. I was like, okay, so here's a guy that basically cut his teeth covering the NBA. Like, he covered the NBA, and that's how he kind of got his start into all this. And then, he led a bunch of studio shows, and now he's the face of ESPN and all these things. And I'm watching like around like just some of the coverage here, all these people in the media that are Knicks fans that cover the NBA and these things. And it just got me thinking about, coming up in this business. One of the things that was just like beaten into me, Joe, in college, as I was talking to other journalists, other things, was objectivity. And there's no secret, my background is in hockey. I've been in the NHL covering the Predators since I was 18 years old. And I grew up a gigantic Predators fan. Like, I was a huge Predators fan. But I knew, or at least I thought I knew, if I was going to get to where I wanted to go in this business, and if I was going to do this professionally, then that had to be almost beaten out of me. So, the first few years I was around, it was like, you have got to detach yourself from this. You've got to focus in on the job, and you have got to worry about the job, not worry about the Nashville Predators. To the point where, not very far into it, by the time I was 20, 21 years old, the attachment was gone. Like, it was more about the job. And now, like, I'll be walking around and like the Predators score or something good happens to the Predators. And like, every now and then I feel happy for some people that I know there, but like, it doesn't affect me one way or the other. If they win a game, if they lose a game, it's just gone. Like, I don't know, I don't know how much longer I'll be doing hockey stuff. It could be, another 25 years, but I don't know that I'll ever get that back. Like, I don't know that I'll ever get, like, whenever it's said and done and I'm not covering hockey anymore, I probably will not be anywhere near the Predators fan that I once was, just because of what I've done professionally. And I look around the media landscape today, Joe, and I just don't know that objectivity matters at all anymore, that anybody in the general public really cares about it. I mean, say what you will about like the Barstool guys and Portnoy and all those people, but they've kind of like made a business model out of it, right? Like, there's that Frank guy that they do that's a huge Mets fan, where people just love watching him and reacting to the Mets losing. Or like Portnoy is a Patriots fan and a Michigan fan. When they lose, like, people just love watching their reaction to it. And it just feels like the general public does not care about objectivity with the people covering their teams anymore.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. First of all, I think the way you do it is, I think it's the right way. I'm not ripping. I think there is a difference in broadcast and writing on this.
I would agree.
Right. Like, obviously at our station, I mean, we have hosts who are openly, more like fan approach, I'd say, than like media approach, or at least some kind of a hybrid of that, which is fine. I think, but like, if you just go to the writing side of it, I still don't think you're right. I mean, I think people for the most part are that's just not a thing that you get into, right? Like you just do the job, whatever it is. You may be covering a team that you grew up a fan of, or you may not be. But either way, like you have to like do the job. I think somewhere along the way, I mean, ESPN somewhere along the way decided let's start having like our on-air talent talk about the teams they love.
Yeah, like Greenberg does it all the time with the Jets.
Yeah, and that was probably, I don't know, probably about 10-ish years ago, something like that. So maybe is that a Barstool influence? I don't know, but it seems like that's a huge thing for them now. Is like who is your hosts are almost like identified in some cases by like a team they love, like Stephen A. and the Knicks. Whereas I still feel like if you're just doing I shouldn't say print because but it's the writing side of it. I don't think it's really changed much, right?
Well, I don't know. Like I largely I would agree with you, but I think with the younger generation coming up, and this is going to make me sound like some old pawpaw, and I promise that I'm not trying to, but like I have seen it more and more with like the younger people that get into hockey, that the objectivity part of it, it's almost like they're not even taught about it anymore. It's like they just show up and it's like, oh, I get to cover the team that I've grown up watching and rooting for all these years. And like the objectivity part of it doesn't even come up in the conversation.
Well, I hope that's not true. That's a real problem if that's true, because like you can't. I mean, look, we have enough. I mean, you can go through any SEC football game in the fall, and if you sit in the right spot in the press box, you're going to see some serious homer stuff from some of these people. Okay, but I hope that's not the case. You got to conduct yourself professionally. We'll go back to March. I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but I wrote this column about these kids.
No, we talked about it.
Because and again, I hate to be like the old man yelling at the cloud, but it's like you can't sit on press row. That's right, it was a rant. You can't sit on press row and like cheer and scream and do chants like defense from press row. Like what are we doing? So maybe you're right. Maybe it's not being taught. I don't understand that at all. Like if you want to do the job well, to me, it's something that's just going to get in the way of doing the job well, in my opinion.
Well, it's even to the point with me, and this is, I think this again is just a product of like, I had certain people that kind of helped mentor me going up in this was a huge deal to them, and I think it rubbed off on me. But like I'll even be watching games now. Like I'll watch, like every now and then I'll turn on like an Avalanche game, and not to single out these guys because they're not the only ones. It's rampant in the NHL and in the NBA, all sports. But like, the guys who work for like Altitude, Mark Moser, like they do a great job calling the game, but they're just like, they work for the team. They're like gigantic Avalanche people. So like when like the first call goes against them, it's like, oh, that sucks. This referee's terrible. And it's like, if you see the guy in Minnesota for the Vikings, the Paul Allen or whatever, like he's insane. So, like, some people love that stuff. It drives me nuts. Like, I just want them calling the game. That's all I want. But I understand, like,
but that's not new.
That's
right?
not new.
Like
but that's how far it goes with me. Is like that drives me nuts. That type of stuff. But like, it's way beyond even that now. Like, it's everywhere. And again, I don't think most people care. And that's, I guess, where I'm coming from for all this.
In 2005, I covered the home games of the NBA Finals against the Spurs. So I was there when Rasheed Wallace, I'm in the press row. Rasheed Wallace leaves Robert Horry who inbounds the ball to double the guy who catches the ball. So Horry gets it, and I'm sitting there like, but like I didn't like stand up and start screaming at him. Like you have to you have to do it professionally. I've helped out with the Tigers World Series coverage in 2012. I wasn't up there cheering. It's like, okay, do the job. And I think moving here, I've been able to be more of a fan again because I'm not around that. But if I was up there still, it would be like, you just have to, to me, you have to at least, I think in some forums, you have to maintain the professionalism. Again, I think here we talk about teams we're fans of, right? Which is fine. But man, I hope, I hadn't even thought about that they're not even teaching it anymore. That's actually kind of terrifying thought.
Well,
we can't have Matt Joneses everywhere, everybody wearing their team's colors head to toe with fan fingers on press row, can we?
No, but the bottom line is, the reality is, there's also money in some of that too, right? Which is why some of these people do it. So I don't know. It's just an interesting thought exercise I had over the weekend of, it doesn't seem like anybody cares about this anymore at all, other than, I guess, me and you.
Some people are responding that they do care, which is good to hear,
That is
actually.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll probably bring this back up at some point. Cory Curtis from News 2 with us here on the program. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Monday morning. And we head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our friend Cory Curtis to the program from News 2. Cory, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Robert. I am a delight. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. Cory, your reaction to both the New York Knicks and the Carolina Hurricanes wrapping up their respective championships over the weekend. Knicks doing something they have not done for a long time, and Carolina finally breaking the door down under Rod Brind'Amour as head coach.
Well, probably good for the NBA, for the Knicks to win a title. I mean, I know it was good for our ratings. The ratings were way up. Interest in the series was way up. And also just goes to show you, that in any of these playoffs, it can really be about, number one, getting hot at the right time and matchups. And they got hot at the right time. They matched up, well with the teams they played. I think also, their ability to finish, where other teams couldn't finish was just really impressive. And you have to look at guys like Jalen Brunson, who, really helped cement their place in history with not just the championship, but the way they was able to finish games and finish things off. And, Carolina, we thought Carolina and Colorado were the best two teams all year. The record said so. Obviously Vegas got hot at the right time, but the talent won out and a very worthy Stanley Cup champion for sure.
Can the Preds take anything from that team, the way it's built, the way they went about their business, Cory?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can take something. They just won the Stanley Cup, obviously. But,
be like them.
but a big, strong, physical team. And by the way, wasn't afraid to go to their backup goaltender in a crucial situation, because he was playing better. I thought it was interesting that the starting goalie, the Anderson, got the cup second, even though he didn't play the last couple of games.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. But you got to be gritty. You've got to be physical when it comes to this time of the year. And I think that's what Barry was pointing to, bringing in a guy like Brady Martin last year with the 5th pick of the draft, is he viewed him as a playoff type of player. I mean, Jordan Staal didn't have 20 goals this year, but I think he scored in 7 games in a row in the postseason. And there are certain guys who this time of the year step up. The Kachucks are like that. And I think, that's what he was looking for in a Brady Martin type. And that's the type of players you need to succeed this time of the year.
So, Cory, a lot of conversation last week on the Cam Ward front as it relates to accuracy in OTAs. We had, back and forth discussions about all that here on the program as well. I mean, accuracy has been a concern with him before the OTAs here. So I guess my question to you is, as mandatory minicamp is around the corner for this week, do you have any concern with Cam Ward and what you've seen or maybe not seen from him at OTAs? Where do you come down on the Cam Ward conversation?
Look, do you want him to be more accurate? Of course you do. Am I going to freak out about it right now? No, I'm not, because we saw the same articles about Caleb Williams and Drake May last year, especially Caleb Williams. I mean, I heard one radio host, national guy, talking about the Bears preparing to start Tyson Bagent. I think, people want to cause drama. People want to cause controversy. Yes, Cam needs to be better, but I think the thing we don't always know is the why. Is he trying different things right now? Is he working on footwork? Is he working on arm slotting? Is he working on grip? I mean, I don't know. Or is he just inaccurate? Is he just missing? I mean, or guys in the wrong spot. Sometimes that happens too. We don't know all the reasons why. And I know some people sit here and say I'm making excuses. I'm not making excuses. I don't know the why all the time. Does his accuracy generally need to be better? Yeah. But am I going to freak out about it right now? No, I'm not. I want to see what it is in July and August. I'll be more concerned if it rolls into that. And I think some guys are also just not pinpoint. I mean, not everybody's Tom Brady. Not everybody's Tom Brady. And you can still be successful not being Tom Brady.
Okay, you got to name a name on Tyson Bagent. You got to give me a name on this.
Smith. It was Jason Smith.
Jason Smith?
When he got his contract extension last year, he said the Bears are preparing to bench Caleb Williams and make Tyson Bagent their quarterback. And I was
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, I love at How About a Fresca, but my God.
Yeah. No, it was. But again, we get overload on certain guys, certain players, and I think people feel like they have to push against the curve, on them because they're so tired of hearing about them and their talent level, and they want to create controversy where it isn't.
Are we too? And I say we. I think I'm talking about the general NFL fan media conglomerate, too willing to get all excited about like someone like Carnell Tate showing positive signs this time of year, while then trying to poo-poo negatives when key players don't play well?
I mean, you could argue that, but I mean, the fact is that we're having these conversations, says that we're not completely poo-pooing it. And I think everybody's excited to see Carnell Tate play well, but at the same time, understanding that he hasn't done anything with the pads on yet. This is just a positive for him. We've seen Cam play some, in the National Football League. We saw the last 8 games of last year where we did see improvement over the first 9 weeks of the season. And whenever you get rookies, this is your first impression. And we generally want to think the best of rookies because we always, all they are is ceiling. All they are is potential. And so when you see some of that potential flash, that's when you're like, okay, well, maybe they've got somebody here because, I mean, good Lord, this team needs dudes. And, if he is one. So, you're going to have that. I mean, this is what the NFL wants, right? They want us talking about their sport 12 months a year, and they've achieved it. And it causes us to speculate both ways on people.
Cory, without having watched them play a game together yet, how do we feel about the Alante Taylor Cordell Flott combo on paper? And adding to that,
Okay.
if one of those guys goes down for like any length of time, like 2 games, 3 games, how up a creek is this Titan secondary?
Well, I haven't watched Cordell Flott practice yet, so I mean, I don't know. Look, we've seen the Titans invest at corner before, all right, and thought they were going to be okay. So, look, the reasoning is sound with both guys, whether you think they overpaid or underpaid or whatever paid. The reasoning is sound with both guys. Now they've both got to come in and produce. Now, they didn't draft any corners. Now, they brought in Josh Williams from Kansas City as well, so he's depth. But they let Darrell Baker go, and all I know is that guy always ended up starting.
That's true.
So, I think, do I feel good if one of those guys gets hurt? No, I don't. I mean, because, they have so few corners that Cam Harris has basically been handed a starting role at nickel. And I like Cam Harris, but he's the second-year player and a late-end draft pick. I'd like to see a little bit more competition there. So I don't think that the depth at cornerback is something that anyone should be excited about right now.
All right, speaking of excitement, what's your excitement level right now for U.S. men's soccer?
Pretty impressive, when you see what is probably their best performance ever in a World Cup game. It's interesting because we were having a discussion in the office Thursday before the game started, and I put everybody's name on the board, including the people in the newsroom, and I asked how many wins for the U.S. at the World Cup. And I got a lot of 3, 4s, and 5s. And Joe, you and I are of similar age. I'm, of course, older. We all know that.
Yes, thank you.
So we have seen the disappointment that is U.S. men's soccer on a national scale. And I also watched them the last 2 years leading up to this World Cup, where I did not think they were particularly impressive most of the time. So I said 1, where everyone else said 3. Where everyone else said 3, 4, and 5. I thought they would beat Paraguay, tie Australia, and lose to Turkey, and then lose in the knockout round.
Oh,
but obviously, after that win, you have to reevaluate. And what I reevaluate is, what I did not see in the last 2 years leading up to this World Cup was a lot of Chris Richards and Christian Pulisic on the field for the United States. And those are 2 superior, talented players. And, when you go 83 for 83 passing in a game, that makes a difference. And when you see Pulisic drive through the defense, 1 and 2 guys, and then create mismatches, and you see him meg back-to-back guys leading to goals, that's stuff we don't have. And also now, and you've also got, Flarin up there. You didn't always see him in those matches as well. You've got the ability to finish, where the guys they were replacing these guys with didn't have the talent level and didn't have the finishing ability that they had. And, so if these guys can play up to their potential, we could play well. I mean, and obviously you saw it. We scored 4 goals against a team that doesn't give up many. So, I mean, it's real exciting. It's real exciting, but you got to do it again.
I mean, The Athletic has ranked the U.S. 4-1 win against Paraguay the 4th best World Cup win in men's U.S. soccer history. 4th best. So the more you know.
But like Cory says, you could argue this is the best performance.
Yeah, this is the best we've ever played. I mean, we dominated.
Unless you want to go back to 1930, the first one,
Yeah, I wasn't at that one. I was close, but I wasn't at that one. I think my grandfather
had to listen on radio.
That one. Yeah.
Rexrode was still in the crib then, so you couldn't quite figure it out. Cory, great stuff as always, sir. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning, and we will talk to you next week.
All right, fellas, you guys have a great day. It has been a pleasure.
You as well. It's same as
Thanks,
always.
Cory.
Cory Curtis, our guest here on the program. We will react to what Cory had to say, get back into the Cup final, the World Cup, anywhere you want to take it, NBA Finals, all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game, presented by Green Ventures Landscaping for homes and businesses that want to stand out, not blend in. Visit greenventureslandscaping.com, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. Appreciate Cory Curtis for being with us in the last segment. Ian Safar is riding high today as the New York Knicks wrap up the NBA championship.
Go New York, go New York, go.
What a performance
Joe
by
won't say
Jalen
it.
Brunson. Joe won't say it because he's a hater of the Knicks here on the program, and specifically of Kuharski. But, Ian, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
On the championship this weekend. Well done. How are we feeling this morning?
Feeling pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, as we talked about at the start of the show, the Knicks were, almost a team of destiny, you could call it, so to speak. I know Joe was not on the Knicks bandwagon because of the regular season, and maybe there's some type of conversation we could have, deep dive about how much the regular season matters and some of these long 82-game seasons. It kind of carried over for the Carolina Hurricanes in the Cup playoffs, and the Cup final and all that stuff. Regular season didn't really carry over for the Knicks into the postseason. Once they kind of got rolling, you could almost forget about the regular season. They were already, this was kind of just like the team they were. Maybe I don't exactly know what it took to get that way. What during the regular season didn't click, if they were waiting for the postseason, how much it was coaching, Brunson, matchups. There's probably some in-depth stuff we could get into at some point, maybe. But the Spurs youth, I think, showed a little bit there. I think their fatigue showed up a little bit there. And for whatever reason with the Knicks, it didn't matter what the score got to. You knew in the fourth quarter it was going to be a one-possession game towards the end. And it was a combination of Brunson, and both teams I thought played really good defense. And the Spurs youth kind of took over and turnovers kind of showed up. But it was fun to watch, texting with my dad, and, throwbacks to all the Allen Houston and Patrick Ewing and John Starks and all those 90s moments there, and seeing everybody. It was fun to go back for sure. It was a fun watch.
It's an amazing story. Congrats to you. Congrats to Gentry Estes and all the real Knicks fans out there who are different from the fake Knicks fans like Paul Kuharski. I will say that I don't think I was the only one on this program who said at different points, whoever comes out of the East, you can get smashed by whoever comes out of the West, right? I mean,
what does the tape say? Did we check the tape on
we've checked the tape.
Bald cap?
Yeah, we're working
bet?
on that for
we're
this
checking
week.
on that. All right, that's good.
Oh, the bald cap bet?
Yeah,
that was confined to the Thunder, right?
We're checking the
We'll
tape.
find out. We'll have to do
we'll
some
find out.
clarification, maybe perhaps this week.
That's fine. That's fair.
Maybe
but
we'll
the Knicks, the last few years, the Knicks have been like a 50-win team, they 47-35, 15-32, 51-30, 53-29. They're a good team. And they, they get through the East. I think this story over time is going to be even more incredible because, and again, I'm not trying to be a hater here. I don't look at them and say, oh, that's an NBA champion, but they have guys who, and certainly you start with Brunson, but like Ed pointed out earlier, I mean, you got to give OG Anunoby his flowers too. Just an incredible, these are not supremely overwhelmingly talented players or nor is the roster that, but the guts they showed, you can't measure the intangibles they have. And it's an incredible story and team. And it's awesome for Mike Brown too. I mean, the guy's been, I think, fired 3 times previous to this. And he definitely outcoached Mitch Johnson, definitely out-adjusted him in this series without question. I think the Alvarado move in game 4 being one of the key ones there. But it's incredible. It's so awesome to see. You're talking 1973 here. I still contend this is a team that played above, they punched above its weight to do what it did. But again, that's okay. That's a great story,
Yeah,
and
the
how
chemistry
many champions
showed up for sure.
Yeah, chemistry and tangibles. How many champions of the NBA? Because teams can make runs, but to actually seal the deal and win it, when, again, on paper, they're not. I mean, I don't think too many people talked about them as a contender this year. How many teams have actually done that and won the whole thing?
2011 Dallas Mavs, 2019 Toronto Raptors are two I think of immediately.
Those are both good. But even the Mavs, I mean, you still had
Dirk.
And they were pretty you still had Dirk. He's older, but still pretty freaking good. Yeah, the Raptors, that's a good call. Now, granted, listen, not to be a hater on them, but if the Warriors weren't completely destroyed by injuries, they would not have that title. Clay blows his but whatever. I mean, they won it. So sometimes, and that's part of any championship, there's luck along the way too.
Sure.
Right. I mean, even like you said, I mean, the Knights had a key injury. I mean, like these things happen, and you have to be good and lucky. But it's awesome, and I love, especially I know people get sick of the celebrities and all that stuff, but like people like Spike Lee, who have been there forever, and it's pretty cool to see the whole thing and some of the celebrations in New York.
You want to see what artificial intelligence says? I just typed into Google, who is the greatest New York Knick of all time? This is what artificial intelligence says. Jalen Brunson is widely regarded as the greatest New York Knick of all time. After leading the franchise to their first championship in over 50 years and securing finals MVP, he cemented his legacy in New York basketball history. Widely regarded, Joe, your thoughts?
So AI is also prone to being a prisoner of the moment. Good to know. We keep learning more about AI.
I'm telling you, I heard a lot of people saying that this weekend. He's the greatest Knick ever. Like, really? Already? Okay. He did win the championship.
I mean, yeah, like right now, I get it. I get people saying that. You back away a little bit. I think he probably has to put in a little bit more time compared to like a Ewing, who was there for so long, and was a great player for a long time. And they
Willis Reed,
they couldn't quite get it done. Yeah, Willis Reed. I mean, Walt Clyde Frazier, of course. I mean, those guys are the previous champs.
He definitely is unseated Melo. There's no doubt about that.
What's that?
He's unseated Melo. There's no doubt about that.
Was Melo on the All-Knicks team before this?
According to AI, he's the fourth greatest Knick of all time.
Interesting. Okay. Like, how do people, how do you compare like a Dave DeBusschere? How about, how about Bernard King? For anybody who doesn't remember how great Bernard King was, VFL Bernard King. And speaking of which, by the way, the Koharski, the one productive thing he's done in this entire conversation is sent the little Instagram thing about the guy who wrote the Go Knicks, Go New York, Go song. And apparently that was Ernie Grunfeld who
his wife
heard the song. Also VFL, Bernard King's, Ernie and Bernie partner in Knoxville, who made it happen. So there is a Vol connection to this championship.
There always is. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll take your thoughts on the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Final, the World Cup, any way you want to take it on our phone and text lines. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Oh, Ian is feeling it this morning. Taking your thoughts on the NBA Finals, the World Cup, the Stanley Cup Finals. Carolina gets it done last night, Joe. They win the Stanley Cup in Vegas, 3-0 the final. The fewest amount of games to win the Stanley Cup for a team since the 1988 Edmonton Oilers. Carolina's 16-3 in the playoffs, so 19 games total. Edmonton in 1988 had 18 games. There have been a lot of teams since then that have been right at the 20-game mark, but Carolina, the fewest amount of games to win a cup since the 1988 Edmonton Oilers. And, Joe, I mean, Game 5, they totally took control. Last night, I mean, really, for the majority of it, it was never in doubt. They were just suffocating, and a worthy champion last night for the Carolina Hurricanes. They get it done. They finally break down the door. Rod Brind'Amour wins it now as a captain of the Hurricanes and a head coach of the Hurricanes. And a heck of a performance last night by Carolina in the shutout win in Game 6.
Yeah, 16 wins and 3 losses in the playoffs. Pretty amazing. You go that 88 Oilers team, Gretzky, Messier, Curry, guys like that.
Pretty good.
Kind of a ridiculous team. Yeah, Grant Fuhrer in goal. Sure. And we're comparing them to this. And Rod Brind'Amour, first captain of a champion and coach of the same franchise since Toe Blake and people like that in like the 30s. So the fourth guy to do it, and the only one anywhere close to modern times to do it. Yep. So, I mean, he's great. I mean, Brind'Amour, it was pretty cool seeing him because, obviously he's Mr. like, if we don't win it all, we suck, So cool to see him be able to celebrate.
Shirt came off in the locker room with the cup. He's still absolutely jacked.
Yeah. Rod the bod, man. Yeah. That's the goal, man. That's the goal. You get in the gym,
I bet when he took his shirt off, I immediately was like, wow. I mean, Rexrode hit pretty similar. That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, technically both dad bods, by age. So, although actually he's a lot older than me. And see, there you go. Someone that much older than you can be in that much better shape. So just imagine what you can do if you have any work ethic.
There's hope for us still. Huh?
That's right. Still time to put it all together. But no, great champion. And I think it's cool that a team built with a lot of, I mean, maybe I'm disrespecting, a lot of really good players, but they don't have the superstar element on this team. They just have a lot. They have depth, and their style of play, as you talked about earlier in the show, is a huge part of this. Their cycles in the NHL. It's interesting to think about. Anytime a team wins it all, there's the, how did they do it, and how can we be more like them? What can we do to be more like them? I mean, it is cool to see a team like that win it all after they've kind of built this core and they've been really good for a long time. But a lot of people are like, are they ever really going to get over the hump? Like, do they have enough if you don't add some supreme talent somewhere to get over the top and actually get it done? And well, yeah, they do it emphatically here.
Oh, and by the way, people had those same questions leading into this year's playoff. It was like, all right, Carolina is once again really good hitting the regular season. So does it matter? I say this year's playoff, they motored through the first 2 rounds and were 8-0, and then they got to the conference final. And I remember people talking about it saying, all right, well, they're playing Montreal now. Are they going to win a game? Because they've gotten to the conference final before, and a lot of times it hasn't gone very well. So they're going to win 2 games? Like, what's it going to look like? And then this is the year where they break it down. I mean, I said it earlier. If you watched them play last night, there's a lot that went into it. There's a lot that has to happen when you win a Stanley Cup. It's hard to play much better defensively than Jacob Slavin did last night, and it's never going to get all the accolades. And Slavin, when you look at him, he's not some offensive juggernaut out there. Like, he's probably never going to win a Norris Trophy. He's 32 years old. He's been around for a long time at this point, and he put up, he played 39 games in the regular season this year. He put up 8 points. Like, I think his career high for points in the season is 42. So you're talking about a guy that's not known for his offense. He is the best defensive defenseman in the league, bar none, the best. And you saw last night, like, how important that would be. And pretty good year for him. USA Olympic gold medal, wins the Stanley Cup. I think he's the first American hockey player since Ken Morrow in 1980 to do that with Miracle on Ice, and obviously the first of 4 for the New York Islanders at that point too.
Wow. That's amazing. The history they've made here is phenomenal. So how can the Preds be the Carolina Hurricanes?
Carolina didn't really even tweak their roster that much.
Not much.
I mean, Ehlers was a big move that really helped them in the postseason.
Yeah.
But everybody else has been on the team. Slavin, Stahl, we mentioned, Svechnikov, Aho.
Yep.
All those guys have been there. And for whatever reason, I guess they made the trade for Keandre Miller.
Yep.
Kind of helped out the back end there. But everybody in general, it felt like it was just the same team, and they, for whatever reason, were just all on the same page this time around.
They had a lot of ingredients that were already there that were successful. And like, if you're the Predators, you're looking at, I think what it shows you, Joe, is there's more than one way to skin the cat, right? Like, there's more than one way to win. Yes, I would still argue over time that if you're going to get there and have a chance to win consistently enough, I mean, having the superstar players certainly helps, right? And we've seen that play out that way in the NHL over the last couple of decades. But, I mean, Carolina has a ton of very, very good players. And by the way, I mean, don't overlook this. We talked about it earlier. They've got a ton of established guys. They've also had some younger players step forward over the last few years that have made a huge difference. Like Jackson Blake, I think, ended up leading them in points. He's 22 years old. The Stankoven trade, you take a situation where you tried to nail down Mikko Rantanen and get him under contract long-term. He told you he wasn't going to sign, so you flipped him, and you end up with, at the time, a 22-year-old, now a 23-year-old, heading back the other way. So you're talking about two guys right there, Stankoven and Blake, that are young players that were huge parts of your playoff run. So not only did you have the guys that you drafted that have been a part of your veteran core for a while, you have some guys you brought in via trade, like Stankoven. You've had a free agent signing last year that was huge for you in Ehlers. And it's kind of everything coming together at the same time for Carolina. And that's a really hard thing to replicate if you're the Nashville Predators. But I think what it shows you is, like, everybody, we keep talking so much about the importance of finding the generational player. And I'd love to find it if you're the Nashville Predators. But it does show you.
It's better to do that than not.
Right. But it does show you that you can win in other ways.
And then throw whoever in goal and go win a title.
That too.
Got a goalie? If you got a goalie. Do you have a goalie? You got a couple goalies. Great. That'll do.
Well, and
I mean, that seems to be the trend, man.
Well, in all seriousness, like I think there's in today's NHL, there's a willingness, maybe quicker than ever, to go with a different goalie in the middle of something, right? Like Anderson, and Brendan Moore did say last night that Anderson was nicked up a little bit, so it wasn't like he was completely healthy. But like Bussy comes in and he just shuts the door and he plays great. And people will look at it in retrospect. I don't know how much of a difference it would have made, but like Tortorella is more of an old school guy, and probably could have gone away from Carter Hart at some point in the Cup final. Chose not to do it, and Hart just didn't play very well in the Cup final. He was okay last night, but on the whole, did not play very well in the Cup final. So, like, if you're Chris McFarland looking at the list, because it's an interesting thing, you've got McFarland who's looking at Carolina, and they just win the Cup. He's also coming from a team, Joe, that is, it is built with two absolute peak of their game superstars at the core of it, right? When it comes to Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon. So he's seen a team constructed that way, and he's seen a team win a championship. And yes, they were deeper than that. Like, they had, if you're going to win a championship, you have to have more depth than just your superstar players. But everybody would agree, if you go back and you watch why Colorado won in 2022, why they were the best team in the NHL in the regular season this year, it's because of Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and the pieces that fit in naturally around that.
Yeah. So his experience is more like, we got to get guys that, and of course, like, again, everybody wants guys like that, but in the meantime, you keep adding, and you need more and more of your high picks to turn into, top really good NHL players. And the Preds haven't had enough of that. The one parallel he would have with his past experience and like this championship is, who's in goal tonight? Okay, yeah, get out there. Go ahead. You got it. Yeah, we're good. We got enough else. So I just, don't be a sieve.
They did win a Stanley Cup with Darcy Kemper in goal. So there is that.
That says it all.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Final segment of the show coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Final segment of the day, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game, taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Joe, going back to the conversation on the Rob rant about objectivity with people covering your sports and my assertion that most people don't care. I stand by that assertion. We have heard from some people on the text line, though, that are seemingly bothered by the lack of objectivity in their sports consuming habits that they have. A lot of the examples pointed out are like teams broadcasting teams, which again, we talked about a little bit earlier. And I just, it bothers me too, but that's not going anywhere. Like that's always going to be a thing. I just like the shift that I've seen in like the sports media landscape in general over the last, I would say 15-ish years. Pretty dramatic how different it is now. And like people just don't care that it's like, oh yeah. I mean, Stephen A. Smith covers the NBA and that's how he came up and made his living. But it's like he's a gigantic Knicks fan and doesn't care. Or like Mike Greenberg talks about the NFL every day on his show and he's a giant Jets fan. Nobody cares. Like all that stuff.
Yeah, I like that. Someone pointed out, like Greg Wyshynski. I mean, he has mentioned before that he like grew up a Devils fan, but that doesn't enter his work at all. And again, he's more of a writer, so I do think that the Homer stuff is more on the broadcast side than the writing side. Also, people talking about like I think Willie and Seamus. I like the balance. I don't think those guys come off like screaming about every call against the Preds or, being like, over the top homers. I think they keep it down the middle. Well, you look, you're announcing teams for teams are paid by the teams. That's different than like media that covers the team independently. Right. So you have to expect a level of homerism, but I think those guys strike the right balance. And a lot of people do. And some don't, and some have never. And if anybody knows who Ken the Hawk Harrelson is from the White Sox days, going way back, I mean, just an absolute, just insufferable homer, going way back. So some of this isn't new. What's new is like you said in the rant is sort of like, like national media who are like, here, let me tell you who my favorite teams are. Whereas in the past, no one ever knew or ever really cared, Yeah. Now it's become a thing where I think ESPN for sure, like you said, Barstool is an example of
there's money in it.
Whatever you want to call them, I guess a media company. But yeah, like they're very much built on like this is loudmouth fans yelling at each other. But even ESPN has leaned into, hey, tell us who your teams are, and you guys can. And some of it just like someone will just mention, oh, my Georgia Bulldogs or something like that. But like with Stephen A., it's like he's like crying or something. And it's like, dude, I don't know, this might be a little bit much.
It might be a little bit much. But again, like. I said at the beginning of the rant, like how many people actually care? That's the genesis of all this. Like, does it bother you when you're like reading people who are supposed to be objective and clearly are not? Like, is that a problem at this point? And it goes back to your rant. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, look, if whenever for the Athletic, I write anything about Michigan and it's not complete. Like worshiping at the altar of Michigan, the comments in the story, Michigan State, here, I mean, people, what Vandy and Tennessee fans are always trying to find, you're a Vandy guy, you're a Tennessee homer, So there's like some of that built into rivalries, especially like looking for any sort of bias. I mean, in Michigan, it's very bad with Michigan and Michigan State. It's whoever went to whatever school, they must be total agents for that school, even if it's not true.
Well, but like
they do it
as somebody like take the Packers, for example. Like I'm a Packers fan. I don't want like Matt Schneidman, who works for the Athletic, or Rob Domofsky, who works for ESPN that covers the Packers. I don't want them like writing good things about the Packers all the time. Like I want legitimate questions being asked. Yes. Same thing with the Titans, right? Like, people get on PK sometimes for like not being a Titans fan. I'm like, well, you guys, like, do you guys really want him to be a Titans fan? Like, especially with how bad they've been lately. Like, I want somebody in there asking difficult questions or being able to criticize people. Like, as a fan, I find value in that stuff. Like some objective, no nonsense. Like, what you're reading. Maybe you don't agree with all of it, but at least what you're reading is not coming from a place of somebody just being like so dishonest and saying rah, rah, yay team all the time that you actually get what's actually happening in there instead of some watered down version of whatever it is.
Right. So, and also, when there's something positive to be like, okay, let's keep it in perspective, not run wild with it now. And that's that's another part of like a non-fan coverage is like, I'm not going to go crazy with, oh my God, Cornell Tate had a good practice. He's amazing. But there is the fan side of covering a team where you are so emotionally tied to it, you almost go too negative. right? There's that
There
too.
is.
There's like the fan that's so like you're angry, and so you exaggerate like I know that as a fan of my team, sometimes I'm like, nah, I'm done. I hate this team. I'm done watching them. You know? So like from a media perspective, you don't want someone who's like, oh, this team sucks. They just suck. See ya.
No, I agree.
Wrap up the season.
Well, but I also think that when you're like Kuharski, for example, and it doesn't have to necessarily be him, but like think of somebody who's objective that covers the team that you think. Like to me, it's one thing if you've got people covering your team that are just blatant homers all the time, even when things are going well. Like to me, when they talk about it, it just doesn't mean anything because everything's always good all the time with you guys.
Right.
Like
it's like the boy who cried wolf.
Right. So it's like, how much value does that really have if you just think things are either making excuses all the time or things are going well all the time? Like to me, if Kuharski says something's going well for the Titans or has something good to say about the Titans, I pay attention to it because I know he's not some homer in there just being like, oh yeah, whatever the Titans want to do or whatever the message they want to control is, well, that's what we'll go with.
Yes, everything is a positive spin. Look, if you follow a college football team, you know, the SEC, but Big Ten or whatever, and you follow like a recruiting site, you'll find that like the coach at the time is doing no wrong. There's a positive reason for everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then as soon as that coach is fired, that guy kind of sucked. We knew it all along, you know. And it's like, okay,
really?
well, I don't like that. I don't respect that coverage if you're not going to tell any truth because they're giving you recruiting information and whatever the reason is. And then you trash that coach when they're gone. It's like, well, why weren't you telling us this when you knew about it before?
It's rampant in today's landscape. I'm interested to see like 15 years from now, what does the media landscape look like on that front?
We'll all have to dress up like Matt Jones. We'll all have to wear whatever team we're covering and just wear, you know, that team's colors
Pom-poms.
And a big puffy hat, pom-poms, foam finger, and just, you know, we'll just have, and then just scream. We can do chanting on presser like those kids that I saw in Oklahoma City. Just everybody defense all together, you know, make it even louder. It'd be really great.
As we close out today, I'd like to congratulate again 2 members of our show that are just feeling good today. Ian Safar, Paul Kuharski, New York Knicks fans. Legitimate New York Knicks fans.
I really wish I would have asked PK to name someone other than Jalen Brunson like 2 months ago. He would not have been able to do it.
2 months ago? Try about 6 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago. We can keep going. That does it for us today here on the program. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. Next man up with Jake Lyman coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.